Hi fellow bombers, I am Brian from Atomic-Moto and I am here to do a review of Gaerne's Fastback boot. Gaerne's Fastback is kind of a mid boot in their line. It goes SG12, SG10, Fastback, and then GX1. The Fastback is the least expensive model in Gaerne's line that has a mechanical hinge though. Let me start with the basics on it. First of all, this boot weighs 4.14 pounds for this size 10 on our Atomic-Moto scale. It comes in sizes 7 all the way up to a size 14. Colors are a little bit limited in this boot, but they do have those staples like black and white and also a couple of other fashion colors. In addition to that, Gaerne has something that they call the Fastback Enduro, which is a black and brown version that comes with a mildly lugged sole on the bottom. Now that boot has been released but has not yet arrived to the US. We're waiting on that. We'll do a review on it when it comes out. And as of the filming of this video, this boot costs $332.95. Jumping into the construction, Gaerne is a 4-buckle design, no skimping there. Gaerne's buckles are excellent in terms of quality. They're very easy to use. They don't have a lot of leverage, but they have a very simple locking closure, and they're super durable. They're really easy to replace. You'll never need to because they don't break. Straps are really easy to adjust also. Now, one thing about this boot, the upper buckle has an extra position of holes. I'll try to show you that there on camera too. The upper buckle has an extra position of holes where you can relocate the position of it, moving it farther forward to accommodate longer calves. So the strap is a little bit easier to have that reach. It's not as effective as a system where you can actually move the shin plate like an SG12 or a Crossfire, but still it does do quite a bit of good for that. It's got a nice gaiter at the top. They use this standard, I believe it's a vinyl gaiter, but it's really effective and it's nicely made. The Fastback has a leather burn guard, which is interesting because the model below it has a more expensive rubber burn guard and the models above it do also. But they're really trying to nail a price point on this one, so they have a molded leather burn guard. Now, the plastic pieces on this, there's a pretty extensive amount of plastic on it. And there's some internet rumors, and I have even said that myself before, that the Fastback, which left Gaerne's line and came back, used some SG10 pieces. That is wrong. We did a deep dive on this and found out that they don't use the exact same pieces off the SG10, but for all intents and purposes, the plastic pieces on the Fastback mimic the shapes of the SG10. They're almost the same. So really this is kind of like an SG10, early SG10 clone. Now, looking at the plastics and describing them, there's the typical piece all around the ankle. Let me move this out of the way here, get it into the shot though. There's the typical plastic piece all around the inside of the foot, wrapping up and over the toe. It's got a really nice heel counter here on the back, really sturdy. It's extended out a little bit. That's good if you catch a foot peg impact. It's got a nice razorback piece on the back here that sticks out a little bit. Not as far as the old SG10. The old SG10 used to cause some problems with pants fitting over them because this piece stuck out quite a bit. This piece on the Fastback has been modified to be a little bit more slim, so it fits under pants easier. And then it's got a really cool feature. For the mechanical hinge, it has this extra piece that wraps up and around just above the Achilles tendon. Has a pivot here on the ankle and also has an extra pivot, not really on the ankle, but it pivots the strap, the upper strap. And that's good because when the boot bends, it means the strap doesn't bend down and dig into you. And the action on this is excellent. Let me show you what that looks like. Now this boot has a really nice, really easy foreflex. The GX1 has a really good foreflex, but the aft flex of this, which is called extension, hyperextension, that is fantastic. The motion on this boot is really good. The flex on this is super easy. A single pivot on the outer side here, right there, and then just an extensive amount of plastic everywhere. Now, if you look, though, under this buckle, and this is key, there's quite a bit of a cutout here. This area is all open and it is kind of molded and padded PVC. And so this piece, this area, is really what the secret sauce was on the old SG10 and is the secret sauce on the Fastback. That was something I loved the old SG10. I actually liked it more than the new one, although the new one is still excellent. But this area, being as cut out as it is, really gives this boot a nice, soft, easy flex. It's probably the softest, smoothest hinge of just about any boot we sell, and that is one reason why. There's less plastic there. Working down to the bottom of the boot, it's a welt sole stitched on. It's got a little bit of lugging on the bottom of the sole, a directional pattern like most off-road boots, not like an enduro boot, but still there's some cutouts there for grip on the ground. And this sole is really stiff, and one thing we really like is if you get frontal impact on it, you're not going to bend the front of this boot and break your metatarsals. And then, of course, this boot can be resoled. And last but not least, the metal toe cap, which if you're not going to be banging into rocks, you can remove, but otherwise it's better there because it keeps the integrity of the sole. It keeps that from separating if you bang it into something. Let's talk about the fit of the Fastback. Now, Gaerne is known for having a wide fit, and this is no exception. If you look at the boot there, you can see there's quite a bit of room in the toe box. It's got a nice contour to it. The other thing I always tell people is look very closely at pictures of boots when you're checking them out. See how this is just a nice taper around to the side? It's not like a dome, right? It actually has a nice shape that follows the shape of your foot very well. It's nicely padded on the inside. Pretty slim from the arch back, and it has a pretty extensive area. All this area in here has a thick pad on the outer and the inner side of the boot, both sides, and that helps hold the ankle in place. And then on this boot, we did a little measurement of the footbed. We're going to start to include that. I don't like to do just a linear measurement to use for sizing. Relying on that often sends you into the ditch, but it is a nice data point. The footbed length on this boot is 296 millimeters. Now this is a 10 in Gaerne sizing, and that makes it a 44.5, which is bigger than, for example, a Forma 10 or a CD10. Same as an Alpinestars 10, 44.5. So it's actually a little tiny bit bigger than a 10 from some other brands. But that's something we're going to hit upon in another video about sizing. Always like to talk about the protection of a boot, and remind customers the reason that you buy a pair of motorcycle boots is not to walk in. It's not because they're comfortable. It's not because they're easy to shift in. The number one reason that you buy a pair of motorcycle boots is to prevent injury. All those other things are also important, but remember, keep front of mind the number one thing that you're trying to do is to get to work on Monday morning. So with that in mind, the protection of this boot. Now the bottom foot protection of it is outstanding. The rear impact protection of it is outstanding. The ankle support on it is very good. I would say that it is less than a Gaerne SG12, less than a Forma Predator. It is much better, overall, much better than an Alpinestars Tech 7. And I would actually put this close to like it's actually really close to the SG10, maybe a little bit less than a Crossfire. They have a dual pivot hinge, has a little bit more support above the ankle. But this boot is excellent for protection, near the top of the market. Time to express our opinions on this boot. Say it over and over again on the Gaerne line with just about every product they make. This boot is outstanding. Gaerne does a better job across their entire line of nailing it on everything that they make, better than every other brand that we sell. Now that's a tall goal. Really, every brand has its winners and losers. But if I had to pick one company that really kind of nails it across the whole line, they don't have a ton of products. It's not a huge line like an apparel brand, but still, these guys really nail it, and this boot is excellent. Why? Well, first of all, the construction is typical Gaerne. It is really well made. The finishing on this is actually a little bit below even the GX1 that we just sampled and reviewed, and below the SG10 and SG12. The finishing on it is just a little notch below. There's some rough spots on some of the molds, but it's still excellent. It's still above just about everything else. Durability of a welt sole, mechanical hinged boot out of Italy. Time and time again, it's extraordinarily impressive. These things will last a very long time. And then, most of all, the hinge action on this. Let me show you that again. The hinge action on this is really smooth, really easy. Look how much movement this rear arm has. Let me see if I can get it so you can see it well. There's so much movement there. Just so easy to flex. And I'm just doing that with my hand. With your leg in there, you actually have quite a bit more leverage and it's much, much smoother. Who is this boot for? Well, first of all, we like to emphasize over and over and over again to wear as much boot as you're willing to tolerate. And so, of course, if you're a motocross or an off-road racer, this is a great choice. And if you're a little bit more serious, a little bit more committed adventure rider, and you want to step up from that level of protection and get something that's a little bit more substantial, this is a good choice because the ankle flex on it is so good. You know, it's kind of like it's almost kind of like a Goldilocks boot, it seems to be. You know, it's not as simple and as primitive as a really low-end off-road boot, and it's not as heavy and bulky as high-end off-road boot. It blends good protection with good flex. So really, this is kind of like a nice everyman boot, punches above its weight. At $332.95, it's a smoking deal, and we can't recommend it enough. We're going to do actually a couple of comparisons with this boot against some other models because we think it's actually going to do really well in a dogfight. But this Gaerne Fastback, highly bomber recommended. We're glad that Gaerne brought it back into their line. It replaces the G React, which wasn't really our favorite boot. We didn't sell many of them, didn't like them. This one we really like quite a bit. And we hope you check it out, and we hope all of this information has been beneficial for you. And we are Atomic-Moto, www.atomic-moto.com, home of the bombers. We are mission focused on grabbing product off the shelf, trying it out both in the office and also out on the motorcycle, really doing deep dives into how it's made, understanding it, and then conveying that to you guys in clear spoken language with no BS ever. We have a great YouTube channel. We would love it if you clicked like on this video and click subscribe so you can catch future ones. And as I like to say at the end of every video, we hope to see you out on your bike.